Well, hello, good evening, and welcome. We've already have several members join over Zoom. Welcome. We'll give everyone a little bit more time to connect there as well as over the phone. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 90th Annual Membership Meeting of Shenandoah Valley Electric Cooperative. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Allison. I'll help guide us along on our meeting this evening. Tonight's meeting is being recorded and will be posted on our website. Again, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 90th Annual Membership Meeting of Shenandoah Valley Electric Cooperative. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Allison, and tonight I'll help guide us along our meeting this evening. Tonight's meeting is being recorded and will be posted on our website. If you have questions for the SVEC board or staff at any time during this call tonight and you're with us on the phone, you may press 0 and someone will assist you in taking your question. If you're on Zoom, please utilize that Q&A button to submit a question and we'll answer your questions later in our meeting tonight. I'd like to recognize your elected board members who are together for this meeting. We have Board Chair Jerry Doffelmeyer from Page County, Vice Chair Todd Van Horn from Frederick County, Secretary Treasurer Brent Arbogast from Rockingham County. We have Dr. Conrad Helsley from Shenandoah County. We have Larry Howdyshell from Augusta County, Robbie Marchant from the City of Winchester, Suzanne Obenchain from Rockingham County, Bill Ordoff from Frederick County, and Brian Plum from Page County. Also joining us tonight are select SVEC staff, and corporate attorney Hannah Hutnam. I would like now to announce the 12 winners of a $250 bill credit. These co-op members are James G. of Shenandoah, Mary G. of Woodstock, Rosemary C. of Shenandoah, Daniel and Patricia R. of Winchester, Ann V. and Nancy B. of Monterey, Wayne J. of Winchester, James and Betsy B. of Fishersville, Steve and Lisa W. of Morrietown, James J. of Mount Sidney, Stuart and Ann S. of Edinburgh, Terry and Jeffrey H. of Winchester, and Kenneth K. of Fort Valley. Staff will follow up with each winner individually regarding the bill credit. I will now ask for Vice Chair Todd Van Horn to provide a moment of reflection as we begin our business meeting.
Good evening, everybody. Please bow your head. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for another beautiful day and for allowing us to come together for this meeting. Please help guide our team and to focus on the greater good of everyone involved in our organization and community. Please continue to make this a safe work environment so we can conduct our business this evening and every day in the best manner possible. Thank you for your many blessings, and please guide us in our organization to do your will. Amen.
Thank you so much, Todd. Once again, listening audience, members, if you have questions tonight and you're with us on the phone, just press 0 to be placed in the queue. If you're on Zoom, click the Q&A button, and over there, please provide your first and last name and hometown in addition to your question. At this time, I'd like to introduce our SVEC Board Chair, Jerry Doffelmeyer, to call the meeting to order.
Thank you, Allison. Good evening, everyone. I am Jerry Doffelmeyer, Chair of the Board of Directors. To help move the meeting along, as Chair, I'll accept motions and seconds on the usual routine matters from board members because they are present in the room with me. Everyone attending by telephone can vote on motions by pressing 1 on your phone for yes or pressing 2 for no at the appropriate time. On Zoom, instructions will appear on your screen. I now call this 90th meeting of the Shenandoah Valley Electric Cooperative to order. I call on Brent Arbogast, our Secretary Treasurer, to verify the meeting's quorum. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The total cooperative membership as of May 28, 2026 was 84,280 members. Article 3, Section 4 of the Cooperative Bylaw states that 2.5% of the total number of members present in person or represented by a proxy shall constitute a quorum for the annual membership meeting. Also, under state law, members casting ballots online are deemed present. This 2.5% of the membership at the applicable time means 2,107 members need to be present or represented by proxy. As of Monday, August 3rd, which was the cutoff for the annual meeting registration, the number of members registered or voting online for the director election was 836, and the total members represented by a valid proxy were 3,352. As a result, 4,188 members are recognized as attending this meeting, and therefore a quorum exists. Survey and Ballot Systems is the company that handled the logistics for the meeting, including the meeting notice, proxies, and balloting. The cooperative has in its possession a certificate from the company stating that on June 22nd of this year, it mailed the official notice of the 2026 annual members meeting as required by Section 4 of Article 3 of the Cooperative Bylaws. Mr. Chair. Thank you, Brent. I now call for the reading of the full notice of the meeting that was included in the materials mailed to all members as Mr. Arbogast described. Or is there a motion to dispense with the reading of the notice?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the cooperative dispense with the reading of the notice of this meeting. I'll second.
I have a motion and a second from members of the board who are with me at headquarters. Is there discussion? All members in favor signify by pressing 1 on your phone. All members opposed, press 2. If you're on Zoom, please follow the prompt on your screen for any motions this evening. Good, Preston. I can view the results on a monitor here in this room. The motion carries. I now call for the reading and approval of the minutes of the 2025 annual meeting. A copy of these minutes has been available on our website for several weeks. Is there a motion to dispense with the reading of the minutes and approve them as presented?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I move that we dispense with the reading of the 2025 annual meeting minutes and approve them as presented. I second that motion.
Okay. I have a motion and a second from members of the board who are with me at headquarters. Is there discussion? All members in favor, press 1 on your phone. All members opposed, press 2. Again, I can view the results on a screen in our meeting room. Motion carries. As a reminder, if you have a question for the SVEC board or staff, please press 0 at any time during this telephone meeting, and someone will assist you. On behalf of the board of directors, welcome again to SVEC's 90th annual meeting. I am Jerry Doffenmeyer, chair of SVEC's board from Page County. From all of us from the co-op, we enjoy the opportunity to interact with our membership, whether it be in the format of an annual meeting, during one of our telephone town hall events, or simply running into you around town. Part of the cooperative difference is being those local, accessible, and recognizable names and faces who bring power to you. And we're no strangers to that task. In June, we officially marked 90 years as an organization, the first electric co-op in the Commonwealth of Virginia. That's a whole lot of ice storms, blizzards, hurricanes, cold snaps, heat waves, and I'm sorry to say, squirrels and other animals threatening our infrastructure. And when these natural elements have succeeded in disrupting service, our commitment has always remained the same: to get you, our members, back on as quickly and safely as possible. For our dedicated field crews and office staff, those familiar faces you see in your communities and voices answering our phones, There's no more rewarding feeling than providing the essential service of electricity. Even after 90 years, that's responsibility that still brings a lot of pride and joy. Thanks again for participating in tonight's meeting. I'd now like to welcome SVEC President and CEO Greg Rogers.
Thank you, Jerry. Once again, a reminder that if you have questions tonight, please press 0 to enter the queue. For 90 years, there has been one constant at SVEC. We adapt to industry changes while keeping the best interests of our members in mind. The same holds true for a topic dominating the headlines today. If you have grown tired of hearing about data centers, my remarks are unfortunately not for you. But the annual meeting is not just a time for our cooperative to practice good governance and affirm our operating principles. It is also importantly a time to review what are or may have become priority issues for us. One of these, and certainly not the least among them, is the service to very large demand members, such as data centers or hyperscale manufacturing. There have been few economic development projects in recent memory that have gained the attention and scrutiny that data centers have. In the past year, the prospect of data centers expanding their footprint in the Shenandoah Valley has garnered considerable interest. The role of Shenandoah Valley Electric Cooperative in planning for the possibility of these types of loads, of very large demand loads, is critical for both the ability for us to deliver the power required and, most importantly, planning to do so in a way that protects the rest of the grid and our members from outsized risks. SVEC does this alongside our wholesale power supply cooperative, Old Dominion Electric Cooperative, which shares in our commitment to ensuring that the cost and the risk associated with large commercial customers, such as data centers, fall on the responsibility of the customer that causes them, not on existing cooperative member consumers. First, a reminder to everyone, Virginia regulates electric utilities to ensure that they not only serve all customers, but serve them in the most equitable way possible. How that service looks or is perceived by Virginians everywhere is as varied as our landscape. But an important step in the equitable service to consumer classes is to align electric rates and costs equitably with demand. Very large customers like data centers have caused SVEC to approach them as new consumer class and uniquely as members who will pay wholly for the dedicated service they require. Except for a small amount of transmission lines on the Virginia portion of the Delmarva Peninsula, our wholesale provider, Old Dominion Electric Cooperative mentioned earlier, does not own or operate transmission infrastructure within its members' territory and therefore does not control those costs. However, ODEC, like SVEC, remains focused on what it can manage, including securing reliable, affordable power supply. Our cooperative has received approval through an interim order from the Virginia State Corporation Commission to charge very large members for the entire cost of the substations and electric service lines they will need and continue to pay for the maintenance and operation of those facilities. We also received approval in the same interim order from the Commission to charge these members a rate and secure collateral to separate their energy needs from the rest of our members and preserve the reliability and financial security our members have had and continue to expect. As part of the review process for this tariff, Commission staff found the proposal to be a reasonable measure to insulate existing consumers from financial burdens and rate pressures imposed on them by new large load consumers. It includes additional provisions to appropriately position SVEC to serve the growing needs of large load customers in Virginia. SVEC works closely with our localities and prospective members when plans are revealed that require coordination on many levels to guarantee electric service. This includes local government, the transmission system providers, and our generation providers. People can become concerned over the conversations and the planning process that happen privately, and they can even appear to some as nefarious. While this is understandable when combined with the greater uncertainty very large demand electric customers present all of us, please remember these protected conversations are had to allow prospective businesses and localities to decide how they may fit together. Our obligation to serve everyone remains, and we do not advocate for or against anyone choosing to work or live in the Valley. I certainly understand the concern for the unknown, especially the fear of less reliability of the electric grid that we both rely on and expect to be there for us every hour of every day all year long. Shenandoah Valley Electric Cooperative knows and understands the business of reliable electric service, and it continues to be our commitment to provide safe, reliable electric service at the best possible value for the next 90 years, as it has done for the past 90 years. We welcome questions you might have on this topic or anything else that is a matter of cooperative business. Again, press 0 to be put in the queue to ask a question. There's a lot going on at the cooperative, and I encourage you to stay informed by reading our magazine, our email newsletters, and visiting our website. I would be remiss to complete my remarks without acknowledging the tremendous work of our employees. On the front lines or behind the scenes, rain or shine, it takes widespread coordination to keep the lights on, and most importantly, to make sure everyone goes home safely each day. No matter the member we serve, large or small, I can attest that our employees are second to none in providing exemplary service. I hope you've had positive interactions with the cooperative and your engagement with SVEC continues beyond this evening. Now, before we get to any questions, our next order of business takes us to the changes in our bylaws. To discuss those, please welcome our corporate attorney, Hannah Huffman.
Thank you, Greg. Bylaws are the internal rules under which a cooperative, such as SVEC, operates. They tell who can be a member and the rights and duties of members, and they set out the logistics for the annual meeting of members. The bylaws also cover the election process for the board and how the board members govern and the CEO operates the cooperative. The board of directors ratifies the bylaws from time to time as the need arises and seeks ratification of any recent changes at the annual meeting. Since last year's annual meeting, the board has not approved any modifications to the bylaws. Therefore, there is nothing to be ratified at this year's annual meeting. As always, a copy of the bylaws is always available on the cooperative's website. I'll now turn things back over to Mr. Doppelmayr.
Thank you, Ms. Huttman. At this time, is there any new business to come before the membership? Hearing none, I would like to turn it over to Allison to moderate any new business from the members or facilitate any questions they may have at this time.
Excellent. Thank you so much. All right, we are going to get started off here with our live callers. A reminder, press 0 if you're on the phone. I should say live over the phone callers. We have Samuel up live. If you're on the phone, press 0 to submit your questions. If you're with us on Zoom, you can use that Q&A feature and type them up as well. But first off, we have Samuel in Verona. You're live, sir. Please go ahead with your question.
Yes. First, I want to say thank you to the cooperative. I had a couple issues this past year out of the ordinary, all very positive. Thank you. And thank you for the comments about the data center. My question does relate to that. It's been covered somewhat already, and but I think I'm still asking for a summary and explanation of the LPD2. Basically, who pays for the investment? I think that's been discussed already. Does the customer pay for that investment up front, or will the power company have to pay for it? And if the power company is involved, or power companies, whoever they are, then what happens if the new customer defaults? Say the AI bubble pops and this data center doesn't ever go online. Who is going to pay then for that investment?
Okay, thank you, Samuel, for that question. First of all, thank you for the kind comments there at the beginning. And I know our employees work hard to make sure that anything that we receive on a complaint basis or an issue, that we resolve those as quickly as possible. So always appreciate the kind comments for us taking care of that. In reference to the data centers and maybe expanding a little bit on the comments that I made, obviously from the distribution perspective, our LPD2 is very clear in that the prospective member pays 100% of the cost of new infrastructure that it takes to serve them. And so from that perspective, they are paying us in advance for that work to be done, and we're basically executing that once we have those funds in place. That LPD2 also covers ongoing maintenance and replacement for the future in the same manner. So it basically has those members responding directly or providing the resources directly for all of that. And then I don't know if you remember, part of my comments as well talked about what we are doing from the standpoint of the financial side of things. We've put a lot of tools in place, and I'm pretty proud of our staff and our organization thinking through the kind of things like you mentioned. What happens if there is a bankruptcy? What happens if a particular perspective falls through? We have made sure that we separate those things, and we make sure that our financials are in line and that there would be no pushback on our members for that. So I think that answers your two questions there, and happy to expand more if there are other questions.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you, Samuel. I'm not seeing any more questions on the phone right now. Remember, press 0. Let's hop over to our questions that are coming in on Zoom. First off, we have Daniel Rice-Snyder, who says, how important is expanding renewable energy, in particular rooftop solar, to meeting the demands SVEC is facing from the expansion of data centers?
So rooftop solar is something that we don't do as the cooperative. However, any of our members that are interested in that, we are a partner in making sure they understand the impacts on their bill. And we want to be the first call they make when they start to consider rooftop solar, making sure there's no misunderstandings of exactly what the impact that they should see on their bill. And we've done that for many, many members that we have out there that are net metering. And I think the members actually appreciate that. We have had a few that have been maybe sold a different line of what they thought was going to happen. And when it didn't happen, they obviously, that caused them a lot of concern, especially as these are important investments. But we continue to support our members for whatever they'd like to do. And the important thing is, no matter what you're considering to do from an electricity basis, call us. We have experts in all of these areas, especially in the area of rooftop solar, and we can make sure that you totally understand what is going to happen if you install rooftop solar on your facility.
Excellent. Thank you so much, and thanks for that question there as well, Daniel. All right. Up next, we have a question from an anonymous member. This is, let's see. We'll get to that one in a second here, trying to sort through these. Okay. Michelle Mello has come in with a few. We're going to try to get to as many of these questions as we can. But first off, let's take this part. What steps is SVEC taking with the use and infrastructure of our grid to protect and not burden SVEC customers due to the hyperscale data centers in Shenandoah County and others on our grid?
Okay, thank you again for your question. A lot of my remarks already have hit that, but to talk about it in general, the cooperative at the distribution level will have dedicated facilities for these size of loads. So they will put in dedicated facilities. The member will pay, as I explained before, and from a distribution perspective, that'll be the case. When it comes to the generation and transmission perspective, I mentioned many times our partner in that and the person we get our supply from as being the Old Dominion Electric Cooperative. And so I'll give you 4 ways that our work through them has helped isolate that. First of all, these large power suppliers or these large power users will be supplied through a market-based rate through our system. So they will go out and purchase power on the market from to supply all their demand. What we do internally through ODEC for our existing members is we leverage many things in order to provide the best value for our members. 3 of those things are, 1, the capacity charges. So when you have to supply load on the PJM network, you have to pay for capacity, what it takes to serve the entirety of that load. And we, under ODEC, have steel in the ground. And steel in the ground means generating facilities out there that's owned by ODEC. And right now, from a capacity perspective, they cover about 80% of the demand of all the members of ODEC. And they're actually recently announced a new combined cycle power plant, which once complete in 2028, 2029 timeframe, will supply another 10% for a total of 90% of the capacity charges coming out of being covered by infrastructure that we own, which goes a long way to mitigating the impacts on the market. Second is the energy side. On the energy side, last year, ODEC supplied about 50% of the energy from assets that we own. So anytime we supply from assets we own, we have a huge mitigation against the cost of power. We did that about 50%. I mentioned the new power plant. When that gets added in a couple of years, that's going to continue to increase that to where there's even less reliance on the market. Now, when we do have to rely on the market, ODEC uses 2 main tools. One is they use a fuel purchase a hedge, and they use a power supply hedge, meaning they go out and try to forecast when they need both of those things, and they buy those in advance to help mitigate, again, any risk for very cold snaps and things like that. So that's the third way that they basically contribute to isolating these large loads from our base legacy loads at all the cooperatives that are members of ODEC. Finally, I mentioned in my remarks about transmission. While they don't own transmission, we work closely with ODEC in the legislative and regulatory realm to make sure that whatever allocation of transmission costs occur at the PJM zonal level, that we make sure that that's fair and matches exactly with a cost causation principle. So those are the ways that we, from the generation and transmission perspective, isolate the customers and members that these large loads will impact. And then from the distribution perspective, I explained many times, they're paying 100% of the freight there. They're totally separated from all the other members by having their own rate class out there. So hopefully that goes into a lot more detail of answering the questions surrounding those impacts and how we mitigate them for you, our members.
Oh, very much, Greg. Thank you so much. That answered a lot of questions that came in as well. Appreciate that information. Up next, we'll go to another question from Zoom. This is from Susan Tenenbaum in Star Tannery. Says, are maps of potential transmission lines drawn up by local actors such as SVEC or by larger players such as Old Dominion? My screen just jumped here a little bit. Apologies. Let me find that there. But Dominion Power. Current proposals for the Valley Link seems particularly insensitive to local conditions, crossing churches, graveyards, and other sensitive areas, and running parallel to existing rights-of-way less than a mile distance. Who draws up these maps, and is there any opportunity for local input?
Okay, first of all, to clear it up, Shenandoah Valley is not a transmission owner in that regard at that level, and we don't have any kind of input as to the design and the needs for these lines. These lines are put in as a reaction to a grid analysis done by PJM to solve specific issues on the PJM network, and they are approved through a process at PJM as official projects through that. And they, as part of their process, they not only get approved by PJM, but then they have to come out and get, in most cases, state approval for all of that stuff. And part of that is always town hall type setups in the local communities where you can give feedback directly on prospective paths of the line. So we don't, as Shenandoah Valley, have any knowledge of that. We get a little bit of an advance notice that they are coming through, and to be aware of it. And a lot of times they will share with us where these town hall type events are, but those are strictly at the transmission grid level, and will be done mostly by the transmission operators, which in our territory, there's two primary operators, one Dominion and the other is First Energy, that own transmission, most of the transmission in our zone.
Great. Thank you so much. All right. Another question from Zoom now from Jonas Van Stappen in Strasbourg. Can you explain why the cooperative relies through ODEC on 15 to 20-year-old small-scale renewables in Pennsylvania for the Rider R program rather than invest in newer, cheaper renewable projects off-take?
Okay. Again, this is an ODEC-based question, but I will tell you, sitting on the ODEC board, that they evaluate all new forms of generation, all of the above. They continue to look for ways to fill any gaps that are out there. And so they put out RFPs, basically requests for proposals for many, many things, whether it be renewables, whether it be batteries, whether it be power plants, all of those things. They look out there and they look for opportunities to make feasible investments across whatever they're evaluating. So they're looking for stuff that over the life. And now remember, most of these generation things rely on being 30 to 35 to 40 year life. We invest them to last that long. So they're looking for something that's going to pay back for our members over that entirety. So we are constantly looking for things that will be in the money, so to speak, and make sure that provides the most value to the members if we're going to partake on them. And we have several other at the ODEC level. There's several other renewable solar sites that are outside of the Pennsylvania area. The Pennsylvania area is mainly the wind assets up there. But there are several large ones in Virginia, 10 megawatts and better. And there's several smaller ones now spread all over Virginia, all within the last couple of years put into place. So there are several out there that are newer in nature.
Excellent. Thank you so much. This was great participation tonight. Lots of information that we're able to share here. Thank you so much for this. Perfect. All right. We've got one that came in from Zoom here from Charles Hall. He says, I have no question, but I want to say thanks to the SVEC staff. I had a lot of concerns related to costs for generation and distribution of electricity to large customers, i.e. the data centers, and ensuring that these customers shoulder the costs that they are creating with their new demand and not push these down to households as some on fixed incomes. Your staff was well prepared in answering these questions and more importantly, had put a lot of thought and effort into how to protect your legacy customers. And again, that comes from Charles Hall.
Charles, first of all, just a real quick thank you for that. We have put a lot of staff effort and time into making sure that that is exactly the case as you so well put it. And I appreciate your comments, and we are out there. We have an obligation to serve, and we have an obligation to make sure that costs are aligned the most equitable way possible. So thank you for your comment. Really appreciate it.
Yes, and thank you so much, Greg. All right. We have time for one more question here in our member comment session. We've had great questions tonight. So glad. This next one is from Susan. Wants to know, where is the new power plant that will be coming online, and what is the source of its power?
The new power plant that was announced by ODEC is in West Virginia, and the source of it sits right on one of the gas basically pipelines, and so it's supplied by natural gas. It's a combined cycle plant in West Virginia.
Great. Thank you so much. And thanks to each of our members who had questions this evening. At this time, I will turn the floor over to our attorney, Ms. Hutman, to give the election results.
Thank you, Allison. Balloting and director elections opened on June 22nd and ran through this past Monday, August 3rd. I received the official ballot report on Wednesday from Survey and Ballot Systems, the company that has handled the balloting logistics. I am pleased to report this year's election saw significantly increased member participation. This year, our cooperative members have chosen as director for the Northern Region at large, William Orndorff; for the Central Region at large, Jerry Doppelmayr; for the Southern Region at large, Brent Arbogast. Thanks to the Qualifications Committee for its work this year. Those members are Tim Price, Chris Sherman, and James Wanger. Mr. Doppelmayr?
Thank you again, Ms. Hutton. All right, we thank you all for spending the evening with us, and I now ask for a motion to adjourn this annual membership meeting.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All right. All in favor of the motion to adjourn, please press 1 on your phone. All opposed, please press 2. The motion has passed. Thank you all again, and on behalf of the cooperative, I wish you and your family a safe and healthy rest of the year. Meeting adjourned.